I love Katie Porter. I said it at the beginning that, oh, this clip is from the Young Turks. TYT investigates. Um, I don't know all of her stances on everything, so she might have stances that I don't agree with. But most of the clips that I see of her, she's standing on business and she's absolutely disintegrating the people that she's talking against in the best way. So I quite like it when Katie Porter comes across my screen most of the time. I can't think of a time where she's come across my screen and she's been talking about shit and I go, I don't know that I agree with that. So, you know.
Last time I checked, that's all we spend is the American people's money. That's actually the function of Congress. And there are no dollars that we spend that do not come from the American people.
See, that's the thing. I know this isn't related to probably what she's going to talk about here. I don't know what they're talking about here specifically. But when we ask for them to forgive student loans, where are we going to get the money from? But when we ask them to not send bombs to Israel, they're like, oh, here's $23 billion worth of bombs to Israel. So where are we getting the money for those from? Where are we getting that money from? We were sending we just sent billions of dollars to Israel and Ukraine. Ukraine does need our support. Israel does not need our support. They have more than enough of our support. But we can find the money to send to other countries. But when we ask, hey, can you forgive the student loans that we owe you, which means you aren't spending any money, you're just wiping it clean, where's the money coming from? Where are we going to get the money for that? Where are we going to get the money to forgive your student loans? Huh. But we want to up our military budget or, send billions of dollars to other countries and suddenly, oh, we have the money. Totally, Israel. You can totally have $23 billion worth of money. Here you go. Here's money and bombs. And it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. Well, they're not buying all of them. Israel specifically is not necessarily buying our bombs from us. We and Israel they're like our baby, so we just send them shit a lot of times. I don't know about Ukraine, but to my knowledge, Ukraine doesn't have the money to buy shit from us, so we're sending it to them. And also, it becoming debt on their end, they're not buying it from us. It just becomes debt that they never pay off. So they're not buying it from us. We're giving it to them, knowing they're never going to be able to pay us back. So it's not like they're handing us money. They're going, oh, we'll pay you back. And then they never will. We know they're not going to. So we're just sending them shit for free. So why can't we give the American people loan forgiveness, which would boost our economy and only do good things for our economy to wipe student loan debt from the board? And that's just federal student loan debt. That's not state student loan debt. That's not private student loan debt. That's just money that students and former students owe to the federal government for school. Just wiping that off the board would save billions of dollars for the American people. That would just go right back into the economy because it's not going into the pockets of the fucking people that we owe money to. Like, it's going back into our economy. There's so many things our government could be doing to help us right now, and they're not doing any of it. And so they're banning TikTok. Why? Why are we banning TikTok? I still don't understand why we're banning TikTok. Because China can get China might be taking our information? Maybe? Because the CCP could subpoena the stuff from ByteDance, and then ByteDance would have to give it to them because the servers are located in China. But China hasn't done that. But they could theoretically do that and take our shit. But they also probably already have all of our shit because they make all of our things, and it's China. Why are we banning TikTok? I don't understand. There are so many other things that they could be doing to help the American people. Like, the way I have no money in my bank account right now, because of so many reasons, but primarily because so much of my money goes into rent, and so much of my money goes into... the main reason I don't have money right now is because I went and saw my family for Christmas. That's the main reason. Is because I went and saw my family for Christmas, and I'm still paying that off. So a lot of the spare money I have, granted, I do spend more money than I should, but I'm still not spending loads of money. I want to put that out there. I'm spending money on things I don't necessarily need, but I'm not spending thousands of dollars a month or anything wild on shit that I don't need. It's like maybe a couple $100 a month on things that I don't need. Maybe. All right. Most of the money I spend goes toward things I need, like groceries and rent and payments on things like bills and car shit and things like that. Okay. For the record, I probably spend more than some people, to be fair, but I'm still not spending enough money on things I don't need to justify having $0 in my bank account. So, because I don't know where $40 came from, but I suddenly have $40 more in my bank account than I did yesterday. I don't know where that came from. I'm not gonna complain about it. But before that $40 went in there, I had under $5 in my savings and checking because I bought groceries this week, which I have not been doing for the past 2 weeks because I've not had the money for groceries. But I had to buy groceries this week because I wasn't going to have any food for the weekend, and I was going to run out of food for the week. So I bought like $40 worth of groceries, leaving me with like $2 in my checking account, and I have like $2 in my savings account because I paid rent this week. Well, last week. I had to put off paying 2 of my bills, which I normally would pay off before I pay off my rent or at the same time as paying my rent. I had to put them off until I get paid tonight, whenever that money comes in, because I don't have the money to pay those bills yet. I've had to put off paying for YouTube Premium, and I'm still honestly considering just paying for it by the month for a few months till I'm financially a little bit better, because I don't have the money for it right now. It's only like what, $140 for the year, $120 for the year, something like that. It's not crazy, but I haven't been able to buy it again because I don't have the money, and that's not something I've had to do before. I don't know what happened to my money this month. I think I knew at some point, but I don't know what happened to it this month. Where did my money go this month? I don't know. Oh, I'm taking a few days off of work this month. That's where my money went. You know, I took a couple days off work this month, which I never get to do. And because of that, I don't have enough money for groceries this month. Because groceries are a splurge now, didn't you see? Oh yeah, one of the big reasons that I believe it's the blocking TikTok, the banning TikTok thing is the China taking our data, and also the alleged fake news that is being pushed on TikTok, which there absolutely is. Any social media that can spread information as quickly as TikTok can, there's going to be fake news that spreads like wildfire. That's how it works. That's how the internet works. But I think one of the other reasons that's encouraged them, because they started trying to do this before the Palestinian stuff popped off, but I think it's encouraged them to do so because I genuinely believe that the level of protesting that has been happening, not just the college ones, but all of the ones that have been happening in support of Palestine, I genuinely believe they would not be as common if TikTok didn't exist. I 100% believe that if TikTok did not exist in the state that it does currently, we would not be as educated on what is happening in Palestine, that we would not know the things that we know, we would not have the information that we have if it was not for TikTok. If it was not for the fact that we, especially right at the beginning, that we were able to open our phones and watch children blow up. Literally, not blow up on social media, but literally explode, which is not something that we have ever had the ability to do before. I genuinely believe that without that, these protests and stuff would not be as powerful, they would not be as pervasive, they would not be as big, they would not be as popular. Because we wouldn't have the information that we have. We would only have what our government, and by proxy what the Israeli government is showing us. And what they have been showing us is a bunch of bullshit. So, well, yeah, most of the money that you send me, I put into a different account and pull out of when I need it, and then refill it back. And then it only goes away and stays away when I spend it on like games or more like Twitch-centric spending. Unless you send me $20 and say, "Hey, buy yourself dinner," then I'll buy myself dinner. But generally, the standard donations that you provide to like the Twitch-specific ones tend to just kind of sit and chill out until they're required, until I have to access them. Because I've not been in this bad financial situation ever, I don't think. So, what the having less than $5 to my name hasn't been an issue until this month. So, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I'll figure it out. It'll be okay. It'll all work itself out somehow, some way or another. So, did you know it's May? Isn't that disgusting? Like, it's great because like I have my top surgery consultation this month, but like, it's already May. And that's just disgusting to me. It's just disgusting. How quickly that it has become May.
So the argument that we shouldn't do something because it's spending other people's money would...
Most of it's on your credit cards currently. Well, actually, no. Both of my credit cards are... Well, they're not both maxed out. One of them is. My Discover card is maxed out. My Pedal card, the one I've been slowly paying off, is not currently maxed out, but it probably will end up back maxed out before the month is out. So I've mainly just been trying to not spend money. Like, that's been the main thing, is just like things like not buying groceries, obviously not buying fast food. At work, when I'm at work this past couple weeks, I have been buying food at work, which I hadn't been doing for a while, but that's because during the week I haven't been able to buy food to last me during the work week. So the few weeks prior to that, I was buying like, I'd buy a few pizzas, like $30 worth of pizza at the beginning of the week, and then I'd have food for the work week. Or I'd buy groceries during the week, and then in those groceries, I would have food during the work week. But because I wasn't buying those stuff during the front half of the week, I was having to buy food while I was at work. Still within reason, not nothing crazy. They've recently brought back a thing where they're cooking hot meals. Not cooking hot meals, but they're providing hot meals for us that we can buy. They're not providing them for free, unfortunately. But they have hot meals that are nicer, that are better for you and better tasting than like the frozen shit we can buy at work, that are like, I don't know, $7 to $12 depending on what you get per meal. But a lot of the times the food that you can buy will last 2 meals, so it's a bit more worth it. But that's been the main way I've been saving money, is by just not spending anything at all, which has been really difficult sometimes, because it's like, oh, I would love to get this because it would be nice to, I don't know, eat this food this week. Oh, I can't. I have $3 in my bank account. Can't buy that. Sorry. So it's fine. I'll survive. I'll be fine. It's not been a learning curve necessarily. But that's the only word I can think of to describe it.
Simply suggest that we don't spend any money at all, including zeroing out the defense budget. Is that in fact what you were suggesting, Dr. Burke, that we zero out the defense budget so that we don't spend other people's money?
No, but it is the case that
I'm reclaiming my time.
You are spending other people's money.
Always.
And that those choices need to reflect what most Americans want.
I'm sorry, this is mean, but she is not nice to look at, even a little. I'm so sorry. I don't usually say things like this, but she hurts my eyeballs. I'm sorry. Sorry to this woman, but if you're the right winger that Katie Porter's about to rip open anyways, then I don't suspect I'm going to like your personality either. But
okay.
Most Americans do not want.
I have been thinking it since I added the video to my playlist. 'Cause none of her choices are doing her any favors. And, okay, none of her choices. The hair's not a good choice. The glasses aren't a good choice. She could use some braces. The clothes are fine, but the clothes are boring, and so they don't distract from the bad hair decisions. And sorry, okay.
My time, Mr. Chair. Reclaiming my time. This is not a hearing about federally mandated Head Start. I don't know what you're talking about. This is actually not what this hearing is about. This is a hearing about the economic and individual investments and returns and benefits, both to the future generation of American children, as well as to our ongoing current economy. So I have an investment opportunity.
Oh, so is that, okay, what is this specific thing about? Thank you, Jimmy. I wasn't complaining about my money situation to get you to give me money, but you know I'm always down when you give me money. I'm always down to receive money. But thank you. It will go in it will go into my savings account probably. Yeah, probably, because I'm supposed to get paid tonight at some point. But most of that money will immediately disappear because it's not going to be a full paycheck because I didn't work all of last week. Like, I only worked 2 of the 3 days last week. So it won't be a full paycheck. It'll probably be like $300, $400, something like that. Over half of which will immediately disappear between bills. And if I decide to buy YouTube for the year, that'll be half of that gone easily. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens once I get paid. But it's been annoying trying to stay at work all week because we've not had the work. Like, we've not had stuff to do, and when we run out of stuff to do, the day gets even longer because it gets boring because there's nothing to work on. So it's already a long work day because it's a 12-hour work day. But when there's nothing to do but fucking sweep the floor, it makes the day take even longer. So you're streaming a lot again recently, fair payment. I'm streaming a lot because I don't have anything else to do. That, and I found this game that I wanted to play, so I've been trying to not space the game out too far. You know. Where does this money even go? I don't even know. I don't know how I access this money. It's been a while. It's been a minute since I've seen where the link sends to. The tipped link. I guess that goes into PayPal, doesn't it?
For everyone in the hearing room.
This is about Lindsay Burke, a right-wing Heritage Foundation official, great, Heritage Foundation, who tries to say there's not enough money to invest in universal child care. Okay, that's what the hearing is about. It's about universal child care. Okay. Report delivers a brilliant breakdown on the nationwide need for an investment in universal child care. Points out how there's plenty of money available to invest in children for the future.
Today, for every dollar that you invest, you will get back at least $4. Anyone want to invest?
I'll take it.
It's pretty good. You won't lose your money. You'll always get back more than you put in. And unlike some of these investment schemes, mine is legal. Anyone in? This is just math. 4 is more than 1. More money is better than less money. Economists agree. Republicans, Democrats agree. This investment is not a hard decision. People would snap this up in the real world. Invest $1, get 4 back, no risk. Ms. Boteic, would you believe me if I told you that Congress had that same investment opportunity for our country and turned it down every year?
Sadly, yes.
Why would you believe that?
Because we know that the science is there, that when we support children and families, especially starting at birth, that it yields long-term and outsized benefits for families and for our economy. And yet, here we are over 50 years after Nixon vetoed universal child care, still with families struggling.
Well, at least it wasn't Reagan. It's always Reagan. At least this time it was Nixon. It's always one of the two, though. It's always either Nixon or Reagan.
To find and afford care, and providers making poverty wages.
He vetoed it, which means that Congress approved it?
We are over 50 years after Nixon vetoed universal child care, still with families.
That's so infuriating. Congress agreed on something good, and the president said, nah. The president only ever does that when they agree on something bad.
Struggling.
We've raised child care to support parents who make up to $50K, I think. Can't remember the amounts you get.
Find and afford care, and providers making poverty wages.
And I think you gave earlier, what is the total new estimate of how much this would generate for our, if we had affordable child care, full access to child care, what would this generate for our economy?
So for a family?
For the whole economy.
For the whole economy. Okay, so we're losing right now $122 billion.
$122 billion that we could have in our economy, and yet what we hear around...
Jimmy, I know what I'll do with the money you gave me. I'll spend it on something to make my life more fun. Because it's not really enough to make a dent in the money that I owe other places. I think it could pay off my water bill, but that comes out automatically anyways. But it is enough for a fun time purchase, which I haven't gotten to make in a minute. So, I don't know which fun time purchase yet, but maybe I'll just buy pizza. I don't know. We'll find out.
Here all the time is that we don't have money to do things. So Congress has had years to invest in universal child care. Every dollar we put in would have generated, estimates show, about $4 for our economy. Yet we still don't have it. Why? Ms. Potato, why don't we have this?
Well, we need to build the political and public will. The voters are there.
Okay, so let's do the problem must be then the will of the people here, because
Yeah.
voters support this. So let's talk about who's here. How would you describe the gender balance and average age of Congress?
It skews older, male, and whiter.
That's correct. So only about 28% of members of Congress are women. The median age in the Senate is 65, and the median age in the House is 58.
The median age in the Senate is 68. I knew it was high, but it always hurts to hear it out loud. And the only reason it's lower in the House is because there's more people in the House. So there's more opportunities for it to be younger. Yeah, 28% is wild as well. I think the number for how many people of color are in Congress is lower than that, but I could be wrong.
So on average, lots of older people, lots of older men, lots of men. Is this the type of group who personally needs early childhood education?
Generally not.
Generally not. So early childhood education won't benefit many members, the average member of Congress. Most members' kids are grown, so they don't have to care about where their kids are going. And even when their kids were young, most members leaned heavily on their wives, and I say wives because most members are men, heterosexual men, to juggle their kids' schedule. And frankly, there's a lot of rich people in Congress who didn't have to worry about how to afford childcare or how to navigate the system because they were wealthy. Too many in Congress don't get it because they never had to live it. So this leads to the familiar policy pattern. The older men collectively, that's our Congress, not to take away from any individual champions, including Representative Beyer and Senator Heinrich, but the collective body of older, richer men in Congress overinvest in things they understand, like the Pentagon, and they underinvest in things like early childhood education that don't personally benefit them, maybe don't even make sense to them, and maybe do not reflect how they lived their lives, even if they are big problems for the majority of Americans. So, Ms. Boteach, when institutions like Congress perpetuate longstanding social disparities for women like this, is there a term for that?
I think it's called patriarchy.
Patriarchy is correct. I would also call it structural sexism. When we say smash the patriarchy, when we say that structural sexism continues
the U.S. could save a lot. It could save a lot on weapons and R&D. It could save a lot because we spend more on our military than the top 5 countries after us combined or something fucking wild like that. It's insane. It's insane the amount of money we put into our military. It is fucking insane. Granted, we are the military superpower, so I guess it's not for nothing because we can absolutely blow up whoever the fuck we feel like. But do we need to do that? No, we don't. We really don't.
to permeate this body and this policy, our policies, that's what we're talking about. We're not imagining it. It's not about interpersonal slights. It is about what this body chooses to get done and to fund and to focus on, and what always ends up on the cutting room floor in legislation. Structural sexism is an age-old story. It's not going to go away by itself. It's going to go away because we make it go away. When we stop undervaluing the work of Black and brown women, or the majority of childcare workers, when we start recognizing that women can and must contribute to our economy if we're going to have a globally competitive economy. So, Ms. Botek, to fix this problem, Congress has to abandon these sexist, outdated ideas and start thinking more about investments. How much would Congress need to invest to establish universal early childhood education?
We've been advocating for $700 billion over 10 years to invest in high-quality early care and education, which could easily be supported by taxing wealthy individuals and corporations.
So you're advocating
$700 billion over 10 years is basically pocket change to the American government.
For $700 billion over 10 years. President Biden, I remember everyone proposed $400 billion for preschool and childcare, and yet that would have multiplied by 4, generated trillions of dollars for our economy. So all of our witnesses, everybody said that we'd take this bet, we'd quadruple our money.
We can't tax the rich people. What if I become the rich people? Then I have to pay taxes. I don't want to pay taxes when I'm rich. That's literally the argument that people use to vote against shit like this. And that fucking blows my mind. You can't get rich unless we pass shit like this. Because you want to know where your money's going? Down the fucking drain. Like, it pisses me off when they won't put caps on rent increases and stuff like that. Because but what about the poor landlords? Well, fuck the landlords. The landlords can fucking eat shit. But they're worried, people are worried that, but what if I become rich? What if I want to own properties and make my people pay a bunch of money? I don't want to have restrictions on that. But how are you ever going to have the money to buy properties if you can't pay your monthly rent now? Because they keep raising it an insane amount every single fucking year. Why are you worried about an estate tax? You don't even own a home. What do you mean estate tax? Why the fuck do you care about an estate tax? You're a renter. What are you talking about? Why would it matter if they raise the estate tax? You're poor as shit. You don't have an estate. You don't even have a house. Oh, but what if I become rich one day? What if? How exactly do you plan? You have a 10-year plan? How are you going to become rich? Are you just going to stumble into some money? How do you plan to go from barely making rent every month to having enough money to pay estate tax anytime soon? What's your plan for that? Oh, no, there's no plan for that? You're just praying that it happens? Well, while we wait for that prayer to come true, maybe we could tax the rich, and so that way we can actually, improve people's lives. There's an idea. I know, it's groundbreaking. I know.
We could. So investing in early childhood education shouldn't be a hard call, even given the profile of Congress. We should all want to make investments that pay back. So if my colleagues are not moved by the clear economic benefit of investing in early childhood education, maybe they'll be moved simply by this single mom asking them to care on behalf of all the other parents of young children who are struggling in this country. I implore Congress to invest in childcare workers, and early childhood education. There are lots of ways that we could deliver this. Like Representative Beyer, I have had lots of different kinds of arrangements. Universal, to quote what Ms. Botek said, doesn't mean the same. Universal means that the funding, the outcome, the choice is there and available. If we had universal health care in this country, and we don't, some people might choose to go get a colonoscopy every year, and a lot of people won't. It's the same thing with childcare. I
won't. I've had one. That's all I need for any time soon.
personally have had my children in big corporate care. I have had them hourly in-home, part-time. I have had full-time live-in. I have been in a family-owned small business, and I have had in-home family-based care. All of it. And you know what it all was? Really helpful. Particularly as a single mother. Because there is no other person. Senator Vance's hypothetical says that one parent might prefer to stay home. That's probably true. There's a lot of statistics that show that parents, men and women, have different preferences at different...
But these days, you can't fucking afford to do that, because having a one income household where you've got kids in that household is really fucking difficult. Really fucking difficult these days. Because everything is expensive and nowhere pays enough.
Different points in time. But what about the 10 million single moms? Where do they fit? Dr. Burke, where did you put your children in childcare?
Well, I'm not going to bring my children into this hearing, so it doesn't have any bearing on this. So
Dr. Burke, do you have children?
I do.
So I'm sharing
We're not going to bring my children into this. She wasn't asking for their social security numbers. She wasn't asking for their names or their ages. She was like, you have kids. What did you do for their childcare? We're here talking about childcare, and you're trying to stop a childcare bill. So I think the childcare you had access to is relevant, actually. We're not going to bring my kids into this. Okay.
my story, because my story is one that doesn't get heard in this Congress. Because you know how many single moms there are?
One or two?
One. Childcare, custodial care to help people who may choose all kinds of different options. I've had full-time care. I've had 3/4 care. I had when I had a spouse, he stayed home some years. That was how we fit the pieces together. But that's what this hearing is about, not jamming one size fits all. But if there isn't the money, there won't be.
What the fuck was that noise? Sounded like thunder, but it absolutely was not.
The choice. That's why we see married parents.
Who's banging on my pipes? What the fuck is going on? It's the rich people. They heard me wanting to tax them.
Saying they would prefer to stay home because they have the option to stay home. Single parents don't say they'd rather stay home because they couldn't.
Yeah.
So our whole perspective...
I'd rather stay home. I would love to just stay home. Quite frankly, I don't know if I even want... I'm at the point where I don't know if I even want kids. But like fresh children, like kids that you have to raise from baby to adult. Like, I don't know if I want that at this point. I do think I'd still like to do like adopting older kids if I'm ever financially in the spot to be able to do that. But theoretically, I will end up with a partner one day. That's the goal, the ideal. I would like to have a romantic partner at some point. A forever partner, a wife, one could say, at some point would be nice. And if she decided she wanted kids in whatever fashion, let's say she wants younger kids, or she already has younger kids, and she makes enough money and is fine with it, I would gladly be a stay-at-home dad. Without question. I would love it. It'd be great. Like, I would get to fulfill my needs and desires in terms of like needing to be fulfilled, and also be able to take care of my kids, which I would theoretically enjoy doing. It's assuming we had kids, I would be able to take care of my kids at home. Of course, if we were adopting older kids, likely I wouldn't have that option because we would need the extra income. Or it would just make sense for me to have a job, even if it's not a job that's 40 hours a week or anything like right now. It could be like a 20-hour-a-week job or something so we have the additional income. Because theoretically, if my partner makes enough money that we could theoretically afford for one of us to stay home, fucking ballpark right there, dude. The fuck? Incredible. That would be incredible. In this economy? And the garbage economy we're going to have 10 years from now? Absolutely.
Here is warped by the fact that this body is so disproportionately unrepresentative of the American.
Oh, there's no planning. There's no relationship planning. I'm just kind of going to bed hoping that it'll happen each night, putting feelers out there into the world, and then going to bed each night hoping that maybe one day I'll find a woman out there who wants the same shit that I want in a relationship, and that I like being around and likes being around me, and theoretically is also very attractive. You know, that would be nice. But I'm not going to go cry when it doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Especially since I'm not putting active effort in. It's just passive effort. Plus, I think part of the reason I don't actively put in effort is because I don't want someone in Omaha. Because I don't want to stay in Omaha. I'm only going to be in Omaha another year. I'm not renewing my lease again. As much as I love this apartment. To be honest, the apartment is probably the only reason I stayed another year. If I didn't like my apartment as much as I do, I probably would have moved out of Omaha. Even though I don't have top surgery yet, I still probably would have moved out of Omaha. Or only signed like a 6-month lease or something. But I love this apartment, but not enough to stay in Omaha another year. I'm already tired of this place. I gotta be honest. This place is not fulfilling for me. I like the size. That's it.
American people's experience. It is absolutely Congress's job to spend the American people's money. And if we can't spend it to help the next generation of American workers, I don't know what the hell we're doing here. I yield back.
Can I respond quickly to that?
No, she actually cannot.
No, thank you, Dr. Brewer.
All right.
I appreciate it.
What would you say to that? Babe, what would you say to that? What would your rebuttal
if I
be?
could just, for the record, say I
What would your rebuttal be to that? what would the rebuttal be? I don't. I don't even know what the rebuttal would be. Okay. Okay. Tell
Get
us,
ready.
Brett
This one-
Cooper, what is Planned Parenthood teaching to our children?
I would avert your eyes. If you don't want even more details, if your kid
Before that, though. That's funny. I got sucked back into episode 317. 317. The fuck? That's not the right number at all. Why the fuck did I say 317? 312. Episode 312 of Supergirl. Because I came across a post on Tumblr about the outfits that Kara and Lena were wearing during that episode. And about their gay little outfits. Gay little outfits of 312. And it reminded me of how gay 312 is, how gay the things that they do in 312 is, not to mention all the gay behavior. And then I spent an hour writing a post about it. I spent an hour going back to the show, clipping bits of it out, making GIFs, and then writing descriptions of the GIFs. And I ended up rewatching the entire episode because the whole episode is fantastic. I forgot how well we ate throughout all of season 3. Season 3 was so good. It was so gay. The only bad thing in season 3 was the kryptonite bullshit that was happening between Kara and Lena. That was the only bad thing. Was Kara being completely out of character and way too god complexy about Lena having kryptonite. That was the only bad part about season 3. 312 though, tasty, delicious. The whole episode, delicious, because not only did we have loads of Supercorp throughout the whole episode, like Kara, I don't think left Lena's side the entire episode. Fantastic. No notes. And then on top of that, we had Alex and Sam just living it up. Just Agent Rain was just fantastic. Um, 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 but the whole episode. Um, that's a funny. Love the haiku bot coming in clutch. Okay, but I did write a very long post about 312, and I could talk about it for a very long time, and I won't. You can just go watch my 312 reaction again, because I'm certain that I was losing my mind all those years ago. There are parts of me that would love to do a rewatch of certain Supercorp episodes now, just to see how I react now versus back then, because it's been long enough that I haven't watched a lot of the episodes as wholes in a while, like in their entirety. I've watched like this scene from 312 about 800 times. Like 312 is one of those episodes that I have rewatched a number of times because there is just so much Supercorp in it. But like going back and reacting to some of the like better episodes of Supergirl, not just before the Supercorp, but just in general, could be an interesting idea. It's not going to happen, but it's just a fun thing to think about. Because like the way Supercorp especially has just like a chokehold on me even now is a problem. Like it's unhealthy, the chokehold that this fucking ship has on me to this day. Like it's almost embarrassing to admit. Like the way I come across an edit of them on TikTok and I'm on the floor for 20 minutes just sobbing, not actually, but like mentally sobbing for like 20 minutes after a TikTok. Like it's embarrassing almost. And it's a problem. It really is. Yeah, it is. It's bad. Like, I mean, I still actively read long fan fiction about them. Like, right now the one I'm in the middle of is a Korosami fan fiction, but I've got like 40 tabs open that are just Supercorp fanfics that I want to read. And I separately from that have bookmarked ones that I want to read on top of the 40 tabs. It might be closer to 30 tabs now. I have a problem. It is a problem. Yeah, I have Tumblr, and I'm very happy about it. I'm glad I have Tumblr. Tumblr is my someone else, so the fandom is still alive and well. Like, we are still thriving online. So it's one of the many reasons I'm very happy I got back into Tumblr, because I've been like this, but I've just not had an outlet for it. I've just been in my apartment screaming about it. So it's been nice to have somewhere to do it. Tumblr died for a little while after the porn purge, but I think I would say it's not like back in full force. I don't think it'll ever be back in full force the way it used to be before the porn purge, but it's definitely recovered a little bit, I think, since then. But the Supercorp community has been around, even if it's not on Tumblr. Supercorp has been, like, Melissa had a show come out recently called, I think, The Girl on the Bus or something like that, and Supercorp fans have just been loving it because we've got new Melissa content, which means we can make more edits between Melissa and Katie and make like AUs and like stuff like that. And like, we're thriving. We're out here. We're here. We're still here, being mentally ill on the internet. So, I recently joined a Discord server for Aloy and Seika from Forbidden West, which has been a good outlet for my Forbidden West obsession. So that's been helpful too. It's been nice to have somewhere to post the many photos that I've been taking in Horizon and have people go, "Ooh, pretty." So that's been nice. That's fine. What am I gonna eat for dinner tonight, I wonder? I'll probably make a burger again. I'm almost out of patties. I need to put that on my grocery list next time I'm able to buy like a set of groceries. Maybe that's what I'll buy with whatever money I have left after paying off all my bills. Is some groceries next week. We'll see. We will see. I don't know. I can't really make any money plans because I don't know exactly how much money I'm going to have because I've not looked to see how much money I'm going to get paid. So I know I'm going to have enough for the things I need to pay for, like the bills and stuff that I have to cover. But, you know. Hello? I got a message. Oh. Okay, Brett Cooper. I guess we'll let her talk.
Kids are around, maybe not. But if you want to laugh at how absurd and inappropriate this is, buckle up. Welcome back to the comments section. I'm Brett Cooper. So I was thinking about the show, and I realized we haven't talked about groomers in a while. And I don't want you to think that they're not out there anymore because they certainly are. We just haven't covered them in a bit. So guys, we are back in action because they are still out there, and they have now taken the form of Planned Parenthood.
That's no good.
So Roe v. Wade.
Let's place our bets. Do we think she's going to talk about actual grooming? No, we don't think that at all. If she did, though, that would be impressive. She hasn't, though. She's yet to do so. We're going to find out. Will she today? Will today be the day? Or 2 months ago? Will 2 months ago be the day? No, probably not.
Wade, the Supreme Court case that made abortion legal throughout the country, was overturned in June of 2022. And if you had listened to the mainstream media while all of that was
2022. That's crazy that it's been that long. Like it feels like a while ago, but it also doesn't. But hearing it said 2022, like it's been almost 2 full years, that feels weird.
was going on, you would think that these Supreme Court justices outlawed abortion on a federal level and sent every woman and mother to the gulags.
Please, sir, I want some more.
Just for thinking.
I mean, practically, not all across the country is sending people to the gulag. That didn't happen. But by overturning Roe v. Wade, overnight made abortion illegal in many states. That's what happened because there were not trigger laws. Is that what they were called? There were laws already in place in those states that without Roe v. Wade would have made it illegal. And without Roe v. Wade it being overturned, like when it was overturned, meaning it wasn't there as a protection anymore, those laws that were already there but couldn't actively go into effect because the federal law was overriding those, automatically went into effect overnight. So I was living in Tennessee at the time. I was living in Nashville. We have several Planned Parenthoods in Nashville, all of which at the time provided abortions. And I had a doctor's appointment there like a week or so after Roe v. Wade was overturned, and they weren't providing abortions anymore. And the one that I went to had always provided them. And I watched them turn someone away while I was there. Like within like 2 weeks of Roe v. Wade being overturned is when I was there. So yeah, the Supreme Court justices effectively banned abortions in a very large number of states. Not all states, but a lot of states, especially the southern states. It's illegal, I think, in all southern states now, with very little to no exceptions.
About abortion, that is what happened. But no, that could not be farther from the truth. They simply determined that back in 1973, when Roe v. Wade was originally passed, that the justices were wrong. And the Supreme Court actually did not have the authority to make abortion legal throughout the country. So they gave that power back to the state.
Which doesn't make any fucking sense. How would they not have that power? How would they not have the power to protect the rights of its citizens federally? Isn't that their job? Is to pass judgment on federal regulations? I could be wrong. I'm not a Supreme Court justice, so maybe I don't know what their job description says. But to my knowledge, that's what they're supposed to fucking do.
States, in my opinion, how it should have been from the beginning. Anyway, since June of 22, Planned Parenthood has been flailing. Obviously, because abortion was the majority of their business, even though they like to say, oh no, we do
That's not true at all. It's not even close.
other things. That's just a small percentage.
You disgust me. How can you live with yourself?
Now, we all know that is the majority of your business model.
You gonna show us any proof of that, Brett? Or are you just gonna spew bullshit? Oh, sorry. Brett Cooper. Right. We're not going to get any evidence for any of the things she says. Sorry, I forgot. Sorry.
And we know that they are struggling thanks to their recent social media posts because they are desperate to get people back into their offices, and in a gross but unsurprising fashion, they are targeting young people. And we're going to talk about that today. But before we do, make sure that you like this video.
No.
I never featured it on the show, and it just deserves a permanent spot.
No.
Instant waiting is important, kids. Okay, anyway, let's just watch the video. Life lessons inadvertently with Brett.
What is it? And what's the big deal about losing it? Let me cut to the chase. Virginity is a completely made-up
What is this video? Is it linked? Nope. Shocking.
concept. It's a term that was created simply to control and shame people, mainly women.
Correct.
A virgin is someone who's never had sex, but it's not as simple as it seems.
Isn't it?
Also
you
true.
literally just gave you gave the definition. This is a 3-minute long video, and you set up a premise. You asked a question. You answered it, but are now saying that no, the very clear answer that you gave actually just does not exist at all.
Well, because virginity is perceived differently by different cultures. Like someone who hasn't had sex, what people define as sex is different for a lot of people. Like a lot of people don't consider gay sex to be actual sex. So someone who's had gay sex would still be a virgin in some people's eyes because they don't consider it to be real sex. So like lesbian sex especially tends to be one that is passed off as not real sex because there's not always penetration when there's lesbian sex. So they say, oh, not sex. But for people who aren't homophobic, gay sex is still sex, and therefore you would not be a virgin if you've had any kind of sex, but not everyone sees it that way. So that's what they mean by it's more complicated than just that, because of the way sex is seen in our society and the way sex is categorized, the way sex is perceived, the way it's not and is talked about. And the concept of virginity is a stupid one that literally means nothing and was, like she said, was literally created to essentially subjugate women, basically, almost exclusively women. It is sometimes used against men, but not in the way that it is used against women. Like the idea of women being pure and clean because they are virgins is very much a thing that's pretty exclusive to women and not men. I don't think I've ever heard someone talk about men being pure and clean because they're virgins. I don't think I've ever heard that rhetoric around men before. If anything, men being virgins is considered a bad thing in a lot of societies. So that's what they mean by it's more complicated than that, Brett, which you should know because you're a woman. You should know this. She does. She's just being obtuse.
It's made up. You see the way that these people think? I don't think they think. I think that is the problem. They just don't think.
Medically, virginity isn't a real thing.
True.
In some cultures, people place a lot of importance on the hymen, a thin, fleshy tissue located at the opening of your vagina, as a marker of virginity. But the status of your hymen doesn't actually mean anything.
True.
That's because having penis and vagina sex is not the only way a hymen can stretch open. It can happen by putting something in your vagina like a tampon or a finger, riding a bike, or doing sports. So you can't tell if someone's had sex by the way they're...
I love her giggling. Like, well, this information that is being... This basically medical information that is being provided in a very simplistic way is like funny somehow. Like I know she's uncomfortable because this person is talking about sex and talking about women's bodies, which makes a lot of people uncomfortable, even women. I myself would have not giggled, but I would have been very uncomfortable talking about it just a few years ago. So I can understand it to a degree, but her being who she is, she's not laughing because she's uncomfortable, even though she might also be uncomfortable. She's laughing because she's trying to make it seem like she finds this to be ridiculous and a bunch of nonsense, even though nothing inaccurate has been said yet. Nothing, like all of the statements that have been made since this video started are correct. So
hymen looks or feels.
That doesn't mean the virginity is not a thing. There are still people.
No, virginity is a thing. It's a concept. It's a social construct. It is not a medical thing. They were saying it's not a thing in the medical community. Like virginity is not a term. It's not a medical term. That's the part about like the tampon and the bike and like that was all about it not being a medical term. Brett, you're watching the video. We're watching you watch the video. What do you mean? Basic comprehension skills. If they're not here, we don't have those. We don't have those here.
Have had sex and have not had sex. And you distinguish between the two. Doesn't need to be more complicated than that.
Another reason the idea of virginity is complete nonsense is that sex means different things to different people.
Well, that's also a problem.
Is that not what I said? Also, how is this grooming? Are we going to get to how this is grooming? Talking about virginity? How is that grooming?
Well, I think that is the thing we don't have a clear definition on. I think that is what we actually need to clear up.
Generally speaking, society tends different people.
Well, that's also a problem. I think that is the thing we don't have a clear definition on. I think that is what we actually need to clear up.
Generally speaking,
that's what they're about to talk about.
Society tends to define sex in a very narrow way. Penetration, penis into vagina. But where does that definition leave queer people? Or folks who can't or don't have penis and vagina sex? And not everyone's first sexual experience is consensual, meaning that they were forced or pressured into having sex. There is also a double standard on who carries the burden of virginity. Society puts pressure on men for not having sex at the exact same time they shame women for having it. Make it make sense.
Yeah, but gay sex doesn't count. So men having sex with each other doesn't count. But women can't have sex and men have to. So make it math. The math doesn't work.
Shame has no place in someone's personal decisions about sex.
Facts.
It's time to throw away the notion of losing your virginity. What if instead of losing something, we reframe it as gaining?
Yes, Sex Ed 101. You're gaining your sexual activity. Oh my God, this is so exciting! Is that what we're going to be teaching middle schoolers and high schoolers now? I feel like we already are,
Maybe.
based on the content we put out in the world, based on what they see on TikTok. So maybe this.
We're going to let the video that she's watching play because I'm pretty sure what the person's about to say is going to throw out the nonsense Brett just said, but we'll see.
Really isn't new or revolutionary, but now it's coming from Planned Parenthood.
The truth is, when we make our own decision to become sexually active, we aren't setting ourselves up to lose anything at all. We hope we are gaining things like intimacy, self-insight, pleasure, and empowerment. All of these myths around...
See, this whole thing is around... I think I talked about it the other day about how our culture here in the US especially is so worried about talking about sex that like the idea of speaking about sex out loud to any audience, but especially people who are minors, even if they're like older teens, kids who are having sex anyways, is deemed bad and dangerous because of the way our society looks at sex as something gross and bad, and how like, oh, premarital sex is bad and blah 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 blah, like all of this stuff. Like if we lived in a society where that wasn't how we looked at sex, this conversation that this person is having in this video would not matter the way it does to Brett right now, because nothing that this person is saying is in any way untrue, and it would only be viewed as negative if you have a negative view of sex in your mind. Which is ironic that I, the asexual, am not the one with a negative view of sex in my mind. It's kind of funny, but...
Sex and virginity can be so hurtful and overwhelming. But here's the one truth you should remember. Sex is defined by one thing and one thing only. You. Maybe that's being fingered for the first time. Maybe it's having anal sex. Maybe it's having your...
She's uncomfortable because this person's using sexual language.
First orgasm. Maybe it's masturbating for the...
Stop! That was certainly the worst 3 minutes of my life.
See, she's just uncomfortable because they're talking about sex. Like, yeah, talking about sex in our culture is uncomfortable. Get the fuck over it. We're adults. Aren't you an adult, Brett?
That is an official video from Planned Parenthood. And it is for middle and high schoolers.
Yeah, who the fuck else needs to learn about this stuff? Do you not already know this information, Brett? You should know this information by now. I know this information by now. I knew all that information before we started watching the video. We're not the ones who need Sex 101 classes, although there are plenty of adults who do need a Sex 101 class. Don't misconstrue the shit that I'm saying. But that's generally when we start teaching kids about sex and stuff, is middle and high school. Because that's when they start wanting to have sex, is when they hit puberty, around middle and high school. Like that... I know there are so many people in this country who just don't want any sex ed in schools at all, but that is so wildly dangerous. And we've talked about it before on this stream about how wildly dangerous that is and how it's not useful or helpful to anyone to not teach kids about sex. Okay? And when we say kids, some people like to picture small children. That's not the people we're talking about. We're talking about the kids who are already thinking about or wanting to have sex, or wanting to masturbate, or wanting to explore their sexuality because they've hit puberty and are full of a bunch of fucking sex hormones. It's called being a person. It's called being a teenager. It's called hitting puberty. Like, that's part of it, is wanting to do all those things, is thinking about those things. Even if you don't necessarily want to do them, it's thinking about those things and being curious about those things. That's part of it. We all experience it to some degree. Even me. Even myself, a person who did not want to have any of the sex, I was still curious about it and I wanted to learn about it because I was having thoughts and feelings about them that I hadn't had before. And suddenly, oh, I was curious about things, even if I didn't actively want to have sex, because that's not something that my body has ever really wanted. My brain was still full of sex hormones. And so it was still something I was thinking about. Like, I don't understand why we all deny our fucking childhoods from the rest of the children behind us. Like, we all experienced it to a degree, so I don't know why we look at kids who are in like late middle and early high school, or even just any of high school, and go, no, you can't learn about sex, that's illegal. Like, how? We did. When did you learn about it? Because that's when I started learning about it, and let me tell you, I didn't learn about it in the best ways. Like, definitely could have been worse, but there was no comprehensive sex ed in my schools. The sex ed we had in high school was decent, but it wasn't comprehensive.
here with my team. We're all in our mid-20s. We are uncomfortable about what we just heard. Can you imagine sitting in a classroom with a bunch of 13-year-olds? Is this your first? Oh my God. This information is so bad. There should be no worry about having sex.
How is that bad information? Like, yes, kids are going to be kids about this kind of information, but it's still important that they have the information. Even if they're cracking jokes about it while they're learning about it, at least they're fucking learning about it. Because there are going to be kids who make it into high school who have been, God forbid, though God usually doesn't forbid it, abused, quite frankly, to not mince words, and will not have known until they have these classes. Until someone tells them what these things mean. There are going to be kids out there who have been assaulted and therefore think that makes them gross and dirty because of how society talks about things like virginity. And they won't know that it's not their fault and that virginity isn't necessarily what society says it is. And hearing something like virginity is up to you, what virginity means is decided by you, could save their lives, quite frankly. It could mean a lot. And we all know how hard being a teenager is. Regardless of circumstances, being a teenager fucking sucks. So anyway, anything we can do to set them up to succeed or to improve their lives as they are then, we should be doing that. And we talk about protecting children all the time when it comes to talking about how bad queer stuff is. But the moment we want to do something to actually help children, suddenly it's bad. And it's frustrating.
Oh my God, no, you're empowered. You're gaining so much. Is that really what we want to be teaching? A bunch of hormonal, confused, not very intelligent 13-year-olds that don't know what is going on in their body or really in the world around.
Oh, crazy. Why don't they know what's going on in their body or in the world around them, Brett? Could it be because we're not teaching them what's going on in their body or the world around them? Maybe that's the whole fucking point of this video, is to teach them about them and the world around them. Are we skating right by the point? I think we are. I think we're skating right by it. We're just right by it with our blinders on. We're just going, and we're just ignoring the point. It's right there, and we're just looking away. It's in the room with us right now.
On them. No, I don't think so. I don't think that's the best way to go about it. But this is what Planned Parenthood thinks that they should be teaching children, that the school system should be teaching literal minors in our class.
Yeah.
Rooms. Sure, fully ignore the emotional weight of sex, the dangers of STDs, the possibility of pregnancy, because you're gaining empowerment in it.
That they're not talking about the negatives right now because they're talking about the positives, because they're talking about virginity, which is a negative. The concept of virginity is a negative to sex. That is what they're talking about, Brett, is one of the negatives, is how society views people when they're having sex, especially kids in their teens. But the whole point of this video is to destigmatize that shit. That's the whole point, because at the end of the day, sex is not necessarily a bad thing. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. And a lot of teenagers are going to be having sex regardless of what we tell them about it. So wouldn't it be better for those kids to have safe sex and know how to have safe sex and to know that having sex doesn't make them evil and gross? Like, I feel like that's a good thing. That would be a good thing for them to know that they aren't demons because they want to have sex. Like,
Intimacy. No, I'm laughing about it, but it's also grotesque and very scary. Sadly, not surprising at all, because we have completely and utterly sexualized children in our society, and we're treating them as adults.
How have we sexualized children? How are children today any more sexualized than they were 10, 15 years ago? Because last I checked, we haven't outlawed child beauty pageants, things that actually sexualize children. So I don't see how how are we sexualizing them more now than we were 10, 15 years ago? Because we're certainly not doing it less.
When they should be treated like children, and we should be protecting their innocence.
But children are having sex. That's the thing. I feel like people forget that children are up to 18 years old. 17 and younger, you are a child legally. That's who we're talking about when we talk about children. We're not talking about little children. We're talking about children. All of them. That includes teenagers. Teens are having sex, dude. I don't know why people are so in denial about that, but teens are having sex. Like, those are the people that are doing it. Like, it's so wild. Like, it's just, the way we're just looking right past the point.
Not forcing this kind of stuff down their throat. And it's also ironic because they make this big deal about choice. You know, choosing to have sex, it being empowering, you're gaining something, but they never talk about choosing not to have sex. And the people that do—
That's part of choice. That's part of choosing, Brett. That's part of choosing. They're talking about virginity. Oh my God. They're talking about virginity. Part of the empowering part about having the choice to have sex is that in that choice is the choice to not have sex. That's part of choice. That's just like the choice to get an abortion. You also have the choice to not get one. That's the perk of everyone having the choice, is the people who want to can, and the people who don't want to can also do that. Like, oh my God. Oh my God. Hold on. I need my brain cells to stop disintegrating before I press play. Hold on. Okay. I think
do place a significant value on intimacy and do believe that it is a private, sacred thing, that do want to remain virgins until marriage, they will never talk about that. Like in 2024, there is so much more shame in that than there is in having sex at a young age. Like the beauty of purity has completely flown out the window. The one thing that hasn't is—
because the beauty, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about it right now. The video you are watching is about virginity. It's literally what you're watching a video about, Brett. You're literally watching a video about, what was the phrasing?
We'll never talk about that. Like in 2024, there is so much more shame in that than there is in having sex at a young age. Like the beauty of purity has completely flown out.
The beauty of purity. That's literally what they're talking. The beauty of purity, aka virginity, is a social construct that exists strictly to subjugate women. That is the fucking point of the beauty of purity, because no one talks about the beauty of purity of men. No one. That's not a thing that is discussed ever. The only way it's discussed in any capacity is how men shouldn't jack off. That's the closest we get to talking about that shit. Is that telling little boys that masturbation is bad. That's the closest we get to the purity shit for men. That's not why it's there. It's there to make women feel devalued when they have sex or when sex is forced upon them. So that way they lower their expectations for reality, and they lower their expectations for a sexual partner or for just a partner in general, because sex is seen as something that men own. That's for men only. And if women have sex, that's bad. And that makes them gross and dirty and less pure and not as beautiful because they're used. Notice how all of the verbiage is negative? That's literally what the video you're watching is about. That's literally what the video was about. It couldn't have been more obvious unless it had been titled, "Why the Beauty of Purity is a Bunch of Nonsense." Oh my God.
Out the window. The one thing that hasn't is pure talk. And if you're sitting here wondering if pure talk's values are a lot—
what the fuck is, hold on, I wonder
with what we're talking about today, they certainly are, and that is only one of the reasons why I love them. My friends at Pure Talk are beating today's inflation every single day, and they're making it easier to connect with those important people in your life. And if you're like me, there is not a day that goes by that I do not call or text or FaceTime somebody that I love. Pure Talk gives you phenomenal coverage on America's—
oh, it's a okay, interesting.
That is not pure in the slightest. Somebody commented and said, she says virginity is a made-up concept, and then immediately states a virgin is someone who has not had sex, which is in fact—
that's what, oh my God, that's what concepts are. They generally have definitions, but it's still something that is constructed by society, just like gender. Gender has a definition. Genders have definitions, but gender as a concept is one that is purely sociological. It is not a factually based thing. It is not something based in something. It is made up by society and therefore changes with society, just like virginity is. That's what a concept is. That's what a social concept is it is not. Oh, why do people not have any brain cells? None. There are no brain cells. None.
a completely real state of existence. I stopped listening after that. Like, it doesn't matter if you like the word or not. Like this commenter said, it is a state of being, a label. There is a label for everything. There are things that are and things that are not. It really is not that deep. And I honestly think that by using that kind of rhetoric, you are only shaming virgins by making their state of existence seem meaningless or worthless, which is ironic because the whole thing is apparently about removing shame. it really is not working out the way that you're intending. Another person commented and said,
How?
completely disturbing and inappropriate. Education is collapsing. Buddy, it already has. Just saying. Another person commented and said, virginity is a completely made up concept, said the person who can't define the word woman. And then this comment, y'all. And we wonder why there is a surge of STDs running rampant through America.
Don't have
Is there? Is there? Is there?
sex. You will get chlamydia and die.
And she's not wrong.
I love them using that. I love them using the clip from Mean Girls. There's so much irony in them using... The whole point of that scene in that movie is how stupid and abstinence only sex education is. That's the whole point of that scene. Oh my god.
Wrong. I actually did not know this. I did not know that this was on the rise. I think I was hopeful that we all have learned about safe sex, that we have mitigated this, but no. USC's concerning rise in STIs, congenital syphilis with no signs of slowing. That was in 2023. Things are really looking up. There's even more recent, more grotesque and graphic things from the CDC, but I chose not to put that in this episode. It certainly is not great for us, but it is for Planned Parenthood because they make money treating those things. I don't mean to put on my tinfoil hat and get conspiratorial, but...
Yeah, they do, but they also give out free condoms. Walk into any Planned Parenthood, there's a box of condoms sitting there. There's like a bowl with just condoms that you can just take and leave. You don't even have to see... You don't have to have an appointment. You don't have to see them. If you need condoms, walk into a Planned Parenthood. They will give you condoms. Specifically, condoms that go on a penis. I don't know if... The bowl doesn't generally have female condoms in them, but you might be able to ask. I don't know. They might have some at the counter. I don't know. But every Planned Parenthood has a bowl of condoms sitting in the waiting room. You don't even have to have an appointment to take some.
they do make money treating us for illnesses, just like doctor.
They're a business. Just like everyone else in this fucking country. They're a business. God forbid. I thought y'all liked capitalism. Huh? Brett, I thought you liked capitalism.
Remember that. And Big Pharma. Now, guys, I'd only seen that one video. It came out last week, but apparently it is part of a whole Planned Parenthood sex ed video curricula. And a new video just dropped. I would avert your eyes. Buckle up.
The first thing to do is to talk with your partner about it. Tell them what you want.
Okay, first of all, can you imagine being this lady? Like, what do? I teach middle schoolers and high schoolers about sex and how it's so empowering. Oh, the world.
I'd be like, dude, that's fucking lit. You're making a genuine change. Like, that's awesome. She literally even said middle schoolers and high schoolers. She didn't even say children there. She usually says children because it sounds worse when you say children. She literally said middle schoolers and high schoolers. The people that need to be learning about it because they don't know what it is yet. That's the fucking point of teaching people about things, is so they know about it when they need to. Before they need the information, not after. It's not helpful to learn about something after you need the information.
The world is a sad, sad place.
Ask them what they want and make sure you're on the same page. That's called consent, and it's sexy as hell. So let's start with the reality check. You know,
like,
those...
I don't know. I can't remember where I saw it, but I mean, it's all, like, basically under any TikTok about consent. Is the comments are just full of women talking about how sexy it is when their partner asks them for consent. Like, how attractive that is to women. I feel like if men fully understood how much women like having that level of agency, even if it's the lowest amount of agency, but like they like having that, like that level of like extra consent on top of like the standard consent of like that physical consent that you kind of have with your partner, of like where you can read each other's body language and understand when the other person does in fact want to do any level of intimacy. But that a man in the middle of sex stopping and going, is that okay? Is that all right? Is that good? You want more of that? Like, the communication is incredibly sexy to basically every woman. Like, every comment section underneath a video talking about, oh, my partner, he you know, did this, that, and the other. and then we hit this spot in like this part of the sex, and he stopped and asked if it was okay, and it just made it even more okay. Or like before it goes from making out to having sex, he stopped to double check that was cool, that's where we were going. Like, it doesn't sound sexy when you're describing it, but the amount of women who are like, that made me want to have sex with him more, like, oh, I wasn't in the mood, but then he asked, and then I really was in the mood. Like, that is such a common comment underneath videos about stuff like that. It's insane, like, how popular and common it is. So to hear people go, oh yeah, that's super sexy. Like, yeah, it fucking is. What do you mean?
Hot, steamy.
Oh, God forbid your partner care about your safety. Like, oh yeah, it's super unsexy.
Sex scenes from your favorite TV shows. Yeah, your first time probably won't be anything like that.
No.
Or like porn either. Honestly, it might be a little awkward. Maybe you'll laugh, cry, or even fart. And all of that is A-okay. It can help to lean into the silliness and sweetness of our bodies and relationships and try to have fun with any awkward stuff that comes up together. This is why it's important to talk with your partner beforehand so you both feel comfortable. Depending on what you've heard, watched, or read, you might wonder whether sex will hurt.
Let's remember, this is for middle schoolers and high schoolers. But again, should we be surprised? I mean, last year we did an episode about how that private...
Should the video about your first time having sex be for 20-year-olds, Brett? Like, are we just assuming no one's gonna have sex until they're 20? Like, who needs to watch a video about how awkward their first time might be in their mid-20s? Probably not most people. Are there people who will get there before having sex for the first time? Absolutely. Will it be the majority? No. It will be way too late to know that, oh, that really, really awkward sex that you had the first time you had sex, completely normal. Having no idea what the fuck you're doing the first time you have sex, completely normal. Knowing that after the fact, not helpful information. Knowing that information before you get there, really helpful. Because then when you're in the moment, really fucking confused, maybe a little uncomfortable, you understand why. It would make things a lot easier for a lot of people. But if we wait until everyone's an adult to give them that information, it's not going to be helpful.
At school in Chicago had somebody come in to teach middle schoolers and high schoolers how to use sex toys, queer sex toys. So again, it really shouldn't be surprising because our own damn schools are putting this content in front of children. It's creepy, absolutely creepy and unnecessary.
You get to decide what having sex for the first time means for you. If you have vaginal or anal sex for the first time, it may be uncomfortable or feel good or both.
Can you imagine your child coming home being like, Mommy, look what I learned at school today? It is completely inappropriate.
I'd be happy because then I don't have to have the fucking conversation with them. That shit's fucking awkward as hell.
Like I said, Libs of TikTok posted this, and she's correct. You should find out if your school uses these resources, if they're using any kind of Planned Parenthood.
I agree. You should learn if your school, what your school is teaching your kids. I think that's just part of being a good parent, is knowing what your kids are learning about in school. Whether it's something you agree with or not, like whether what they're teaching is something you agree with or not, it's important that you be involved in what your kids are learning at school because you're their fucking parent. So be a fucking parent. Never thought I'd agree with Libs of TikTok on anything, but unfortunately, she was right.
Parenthood resources because they have their claws deep in the school system. And it's worth checking out because these videos are completely inappropriate. I mean, I seriously have no more words for what we just watched, other than it's despicable and inappropriate. And again, I just can't, it's mind-boggling. Middle schoolers and high schoolers, like look at the branding, the silliness. It's for minors. They know what they're doing. And do they focus on safe sex at all? No, in none of these videos. Which brings me to this commenter who hit the nail on the head.
Well, the video's not about the sex that you're having. It's not about how to have safe sex. That's not what the videos were about. They were about virginity, and I don't know what the second one was about. I don't know what the second one was about. What was the topic of the second one? Consent seemed to be the topic of the second one. Neither of those are about the actual physical part of sex. I'm sure they've got a whole, you know what? We can look it up. Planned Parenthood Sex 101. Let's see, where's the playlist? Give me the playlist.
Someone asked.
Oh, these are new. Okay. Let's see. Oh, they even have them in Spanish. That's nice. We have what happens the first time you have sex, how do I know if I'm ready to have sex, and what is virginity. Those are the only videos that are up in the Sex 101 ones. Like the ones that she's talking about in these videos. They've got some older ones about like things like STD and like birth control rings and things like that. But the videos by, especially this person that Brett is talking about here, stop sending me notifications about work that aren't actually about work, you fucking, God, okay. These are it. None of these are about how to have safe sex. That's not what these videos are about. They might have had it in this video. We didn't watch this one, though. What happens the first time you have sex? We didn't watch that video, Brett. Even though it was the first one they put out, you didn't cover that one. You watched the virginity one and the how to know if I'm ready to have sex one. So, right? Well, I guess the shirt she's wearing is the one from that one.
High schooler.
But she didn't watch the whole video like she did for the virginity one. This is the clip she was watching for the second one. Right? Yeah, she wasn't wearing this outfit in the video Brett watched. So what do you mean? I guess she didn't watch the whole video, so, you know.
About sex and how it's so empowering. Oh, the world is a sad, sad place.
Ask them what they want.
There we go.
And make sure you're on the same page. That's called consent. And it's sexy as hell. So let's start with the reality check. You know those hot, steamy sex scenes from your favorite...
Wait, did we go back?
Inappropriate. Like I said, Libs of TikTok posted this, and she's correct. You should find out.
Yeah, we went back. Oops, sorry.
Because that would put them out of business. And that also wouldn't fall in line with their other progressive ideologies that they need to be touting 24/7. And speaking of not being put out of business, some of these Planned Parenthood locations are getting desperate. Not just the headquarters, but just the locations. Like, look at their marketing on social media.
Get ready with me while we talk about all the wrong reasons to have an abortion.
Nice shirt.
There's no wrong reason to get an
Sorry, this person just looks a lot like someone I went to school with. It's not the person I
So
went to school
that
with, but
trend
she looks a
is
lot like the person I went to
basically
school with.
setting up something you're going to talk about, not talking about it, and then inadvertently, intentionally proving your point. So that's what she was doing there. There's no wrong reason to have an abortion. That is coming
Correct.
from a Planned Parenthood location. Here's another.
I work for Planned Parenthood. Of course I can help you find the closest abortion clinic. I work for Planned Parenthood. Of course I think period products should be free. I work for Planned Parenthood. Of course I can get you free condoms.
Damn right.
I work in Planned Parenthood. Of
Hell,
course
I don't work at a Planned Parenthood, but I know where my local one is. I can get you some free ass condoms.
I hate children. Sir, why would you say that? That is not the point of this video. You know that's perpetuating stereotypes people have of Planned Parenthood.
I thought it was funny. I thought we were being funny, guys.
Aha!
It was funny.
Ah, so funny. That is obviously a joke. We know that that is not actually a joke. You're
That is so funny though. I love those. I love this TikTok trend of like the recording our feet while we talk about like the behind the scenes stuff. I love that trend. It's so funny.
Of course I can get you free condoms. I work in Planned Parenthood. Of course I hate children. Sir, why would you say that? That is not the point of this video. You know that's perpetuating stereotypes people have of Planned Parenthood.
I thought it was funny. I thought we were being funny, guys.
aha! Aha! So funny. That is obviously a joke. We know that that
Sarah, why did you say that? You know that's perpetuating stereotypes. I thought it was funny.
is not actually a joke. You're saying the quiet part out loud and passing it off as a
It's okay to hate children. Why is it so bad to hate children? Okay, some people just hate kids, whether they work at Planned Parenthood or not. There are just people out there who don't like kids. Like, that's okay. You're allowed to not like kids. Like, that's... It's not illegal to not like kids.
It's a joke. It's kind of like what they're doing with those sex ed videos. Targeting kids, passing it off as education and youthful and silly. That's sexy as hell. Ooh, when the information is totally wrong and completely
How was any of the information wrong? You never disproved any of the information, Brett.
inappropriate for the young people that they are targeting. And the only group that it benefits is them. And even though this whole episode was
How does it not benefit the kids?
wholly uncomfortable and gross and inappropriate, the one silver lining here is that Planned Parenthood has to be desperate because their business model is failing. And that, my friends, is a very good thing for society.
I would strongly disagree, but we all already know that. So she posted something today? Question mark? Or was it just a video on my recommended page? No, it was just, okay, it was just a recommended video. Okay. I watched a video recently, like yesterday, from Cat Black about, on like the same general idea, like the same like, oh, sex ed for our kids is bad type stuff. Where she covered a book, here we go, the book that conservatives want a controversy called It's Perfectly Normal. If you're interested in more about this topic in the US, especially the book bans, especially ones like this book, which is a bit more explicit, it is the kind of book that you wouldn't hand it to an 8-year-old. It's the kind of book that you would probably sit down with and read with your like late middle schooler or your high schooler, or I would just set my high schooler free with it personally, but like if my middle schooler was wanting to know things about sex and wanting to learn things about sex, this book is comprehensive to a degree that is that is just necessary. It's comprehensive to the point where it covers a lot without being porn, you know. It's graphic sometimes in its descriptions, but not actually. It's not like actually graphic. It just feels graphic to hear sex talked about out loud in a way that's not mincing words, that's using terms like penis and vagina, and that's using like words and phrases that would be deemed not okay because it's talking about sex. So it doesn't care about the purity culture and stuff like that around it. It just says what it is, and therefore is very educational and very comprehensive, but also doesn't go so far that it's not appropriate for kids anymore. It's obviously not appropriate for elementary schoolers. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's appropriate for elementary schoolers. It's not. She reads a good portion of a few of the pages out of the book, and talks about how having this book when she was a kid would have saved her so much heartache and so much trouble, not just as a kid, but in her relationships as an adult, which were negatively impacted by the negative experiences she had as a kid around sex, and how important education like this is to protecting kids from actual grooming, because teaching them what is and isn't okay is not grooming, it's education. So if you've ever seen anything about this book specifically and want more like detailed coverage of it, I would recommend Cat Black's video on it, because like I said, she does read excerpts straight out of the book. So I would recommend it. We're not going to watch it here. I've seen it already. It's 30 minutes long. We're not going to sit and listen to her read it, especially because I don't have a lot to say about it, because all of the things she's saying are either from her own experiences or are just things I agree with, or both. So wouldn't make for a very good reaction video because a lot of it's just shit that I agree with. Oh yeah, Hassan yelled at some morons on some Zionistic morons on Piers Morgan, and it was great. He completely lost it. He completely lost his composure. He got too pissed off, and he just lost control, and it was entertaining. It was entertaining. I think I'm going to call it there, actually. I am tired and hungry. I think I'm going to call it there. Yeah, I've been live for almost 6 hours. And I've been awake for over 12. And my brain cells have rotted over the past hour or so. And is it go replenish those? Ooh. Rolly and Jamie, yes. Although it's an hour long, it might be one of the ones I watch at work. Yeah. Any brain cells I might have had are on standby at the moment.
So stoic. Go on. Shout, scream, say something.
You're as beautiful as the day I lost you.
That's a new universe. Yeah, it isn't their next Life is Strange game. It is a different universe. So I am not interested. Alrighty, y'all. That's gotta be it. Have a good sleep. Have a good weekend. I'll be back next week at some point. Not sure which day, but we'll finish up Tell Me Why next week. Bye-bye.